There's no way an old hag like you can speak French, right?
The new elite graduate employee glared at me. Fine. I'll speak instead. I had enough. It was time to teach this arrogant young woman a lesson. My name is Cindy. I'm 65 years old, with a husband and 2 grown children, a son and a daughter. I work part-time in the office of a large company's headquarters. Our company has many branches overseas and business partners all over the world, so our employees are multinational. In the headquarters office, not only English but also French and Chinese are spoken. I had been working as a full-time employee at this company for a long time. 2 years ago, when my husband retired, I planned to retire early as well, but the president begged me to continue, even if it was just part-time. It's been 2 years since the president persuaded me to stay. Now, I've finally reached the age of retirement. Although the president said,
"I wish you could continue working."
My colleagues in the HR department hired a replacement for me. That replacement was the super troublemaker, Sophia. Sophia was a talented woman who graduated from an elite university, and her resume photo made her look like a beautiful model. The pre-employment reviews were excellent, and I had high expectations for her. However, as soon as Sophia saw me in the office, she frowned at me with her pretty face. Her unexpected reaction left me puzzled. Sophia muttered,
"It's the worst that an old lady like you is my mentor."
but I heard her clearly. I was annoyed, but I pretended not to hear. Sophia then asked,
"Excuse me, but which university did you graduate from?"
"I didn't go to university. I graduated from high school," I replied. Sophia widened her eyes dramatically and spat out bitterly.
"High school? Unbelievable. I'm an elite, so what can an old lady with just a high school diploma teach me?"
Being insulted to my face, I sighed at Sophia's attitude. It was going to be a tough road ahead, but as her mentor, I had no choice but to address her behavior. "Sophia, you are a new employee, and I have been doing this job for a long time. You were hired as my replacement, so it doesn't matter whether you graduated from high school or university. I am your mentor. And as a professional, how about that attitude?" I was irritated, but I spoke to her politely. Then Sophia said,
"Isn't it enough if I commit to the results?"
"Commit to the results? Does that mean you'll work hard to achieve good results?" Sophia seemed to realize that speaking informally was inappropriate, so she switched to polite language, but I still didn't understand what she meant. Unfamiliar with the phrase, I asked for clarification. As I was thinking, Sophia took on a mocking attitude again.
"Please study business terminology properly, old lady. Not knowing such a basic term, you really can't be my mentor, can you?"
I don't think knowing technical terms is impressive. It has nothing to do with office work. Anyway, does it mean you'll work hard?
"Yes. I'm excellent, so I will definitely deliver results."
Thinking she was quite a handful, I ended the conversation. If she did her job properly, I would overlook it. Thus, I became Sophia's mentor, but things didn't go as smoothly as I had hoped. Sophia wanted to present herself as someone who could speak French with foreigners, so she actively engaged in small talk, regardless of whether the other person was busy. This annoyed everyone. Moreover, her pronunciation was so poor that it was hard to understand what she was saying, and she couldn't catch what the other person was saying either, leading to nonsensical conversations. Eventually, everyone started speaking to her in English out of consideration. Sophia believed she was exceptional and didn't realize that people were accommodating her. Her strong sense of elitism made her look down on me for being a high school graduate and constantly rebel against me. She seemed to have imagined a glamorous work environment like those seen in TV dramas and would say things like,
"This kind of work should be left to temps,"
refusing any task that didn't match her image. Despite this, I was her mentor and needed her to learn the job, so I assigned her tasks in various ways every day. Perhaps we were both frustrated with each other.
"You're a part-timer and 65 years old, right? So, are you retiring this year, Cindy?"
Sophia spoke to me during work. It was unusual for her to do so, and I nodded. "Yes. Once I finish training you and handing over my duties, I'll retire. My husband retired 2 years ago, and we plan to travel together." Thinking about retirement, I naturally smiled. Recently, my husband and I have been enjoying looking at travel magazines at night, planning where to go.
But Cindy, you're poor, right?
I was shocked by Sophia's words. What? What are you talking about?
Well, you can't quit your job even though you're an old lady, right? It's because you're poor, isn't it? A high school graduate working part-time is just pathetic.
Sophia looked down on me with a sneer. Maybe she was trying to get back at me for scolding her earlier. Getting angry here would be playing into her hands. No, I continue working because I like my job and I'm needed. I replied calmly, and Sophia, with a malicious look, said,
I'll let you think that.
There's nothing to think about. That's just the way it is. Another day, Sophia decided to mock me during small talk.
What? You don't know something as basic as this?
During a break, the topic of Sunday night dramas came up, and Sophia eagerly shared her knowledge of history. When I complimented her, saying, You know a lot, she mocked me, saying it was common knowledge for Americans. Paul, another employee who was present, defended me.
I don't know much about American history either.
Sophia responded,
That's because you're French, Paul. The problem is that Cindy, an American, doesn't know it. She's poor and can't afford books, so she couldn't study and only graduated from high school. She's uneducated. It's really sad that she has to keep working even as an old lady.
She immediately dismissed me. Sophia constantly mocked me at every opportunity. My frustration was building up. And then, the incident happened. Our company has a tradition of giving a 5-minute speech during the morning assembly every day. Some people speak in French, while others use English. The content can be anything, from updates on their current work to talking about how adorable their children are. That morning, I happened to reprimand Sophia a bit sternly. The previous day, she had left documents that must be locked away in a secure cabinet out on her desk.
It's outdated to manage such important documents on paper.
Instead of apologizing, she talked back. What are you talking about? You know, making everything electronic is actually inefficient and unsafe. You may have your own ideas, but right now, I'm your mentor, and these are the company rules. Please follow them. I was exasperated as I lectured her, and Sophia made a clear frown.
A poor old lady with just a high school diploma, acting all high and mighty,
she muttered under her breath. Her attitude was like that of a rebellious teenager. I had been holding back, but I had reached my limit. You broke the rules, so your response should be an apology, right? I ended up speaking to her as if she were a child. Sophia became furious.
What? Don't treat me like a child. Forcing an apology is harassment.
If you call this harassment, what about your attitude? Raising your voice and being defiant. Isn't that emotional abuse? I found myself arguing back. But then Sophia said,
I'm an elite, so it's fine. I'm making a legitimate claim.
It was ridiculous. That's not true. Anyway, calm down. Today is your day to give the speech, right? As Sophia's loud voice started to draw attention, I decided to calm the argument. I didn't mind if Sophia's true nature was revealed, but I didn't want to get caught up in it. Sophia, still fuming, suddenly smirked as if she had an idea.
Hey, old lady, why don't you give the speech instead?
What? I replied.
You're my mentor, so show me how it's done.
Are you saying you don't want to give the speech? I asked, and Sophia got even angrier.
No, I'm just fed up with you. I want to show everyone that you're not fit to be my mentor. I was planning to give my speech in French. Can you speak French, old lady? You're just a poor, uneducated hag. There's no way someone like you can speak French, right? You're unfit to be my mentor.
Sophia laughed loudly. The other employees looked at me with concern. I silently shook my head and glared at Sophia. Fine. I'll give the speech instead. If you want a demonstration in French, then French it is. I had enough. I stood up confidently. It was time to teach this arrogant young woman a lesson. When the workday began, all the office employees gathered for the morning assembly. I stood at the podium in place of Sophia. Good morning, everyone. I'm Cindy, and I've been asked to give a speech today. I'd like to take this opportunity to talk about my experiences at this company. I alternated between speaking in French and English. Although I considered speaking entirely in French, I knew that some employees who were not from French-speaking regions would find English easier to understand. I improvised the content of my speech. I had been accustomed to public speaking since my student days, and having worked at this company for a long time, I had given many speeches. In fact, it was I who suggested the morning speeches at the company. I glanced at Sophia's face. At first, she looked stunned, then her face turned red, and she glared at me intensely. It was easy to see what she was thinking. She had mocked me, assuming I couldn't speak French, but here I was, speaking fluently. Sophia had boasted about her ability to speak French, but I was clearly more proficient. Her embarrassment gradually turned into anger. It was about 5 minutes. When I finished my speech, occasionally mixing in some jokes, there was a big round of applause.
Cindy's speeches are always wonderful.
My friend Paul praised me, and other employees also complimented me. I waved lightly and returned to my seat. Then Sophia shouted,
"You liar!"
and insulted me. The surrounding colleagues tried to stop Sophia, but I held up my hand to stop them. "It's okay. I'm her mentor," I said to everyone, and they quietly watched. I turned to Sophia. "That's quite a way of saying it," I replied calmly.
"You deceived me, you poor old woman. I didn't know you could speak French so fluently."
I never said I couldn't speak French. I lived in France until high school, so I can speak it normally. You just misunderstood me.
Are you a returnee? High school graduate? You mean a French high school graduate?
Yes. Because of my father's job. After graduating from high school in France, I returned to the United States. The school systems and curricula in France and the United States are different. While math is universal, other subjects are not taught the same way in France, so there were many things I didn't understand. I didn't want to study all that just to get into an American university. Both my parents and I thought it was better to get a job than to go to university without a clear purpose. Still not satisfied, Sophia persisted.
But you never spoke French with the foreign staff.
They've been in America for a long time, so casual conversations in English are fine. Also, they were considerate of you since you're not good at French. Sorry, but your pronunciation is a bit hard to understand. When I said this bluntly, Sophia's face turned red. Besides, in such a multinational company, it's impossible not to speak French. Half of the documents are in French. Sophia had been proud of her ability to speak French, but in reality, it was a bit of a nuisance to others. Sophia, it's wonderful that you worked hard and graduated from an elite university, but you shouldn't look down on people.
Shut up. I don't want to hear that from a poor old lady.
Oh, I'm not poor. Remember I mentioned my father's job? He used to run a trading company before he retired. My husband was the president until last year, and now my son has taken over. You probably know the company. When I mentioned the company's name, Sophia gasped. The reason I didn't work at my father's company was simply that I wasn't interested in the work. I preferred my current job.
No way. That famous company? I applied but failed the first interview.
Well, that's unfortunate. I couldn't help but chuckle. It seems my son's company has a good eye for talent.
Sophia, in the real world, academic background isn't everything. A company is a place where everyone works together. We don't need people who can't play as a team. It's a problem if you can't get along with others.
Paul, who often chatted with Sophia, chimed in from the side. Paul is right. Sophia, you may have been an elite student with excellent grades in school, but as a professional, you can't even do the basics. There are many things more important than being able to study or speak French. If you don't change your arrogant attitude, you'll end up isolated. Sophia was startled and looked around. She noticed that everyone was looking at her with cold eyes. She suddenly started trembling and sat down. In her anger, she had forgotten herself, and now her true nature was exposed. Sophia finally realized that she had done something irreparable. She had mocked me, thinking I was just a poor old lady, but now she knew I was a returnee who spoke fluent French and came from a well-known business family. Being an elite, she quickly calculated the dire situation she was in.
I'm sorry, Cindy. Please forgive me.
She started crying and clung to me, apologizing. After that, Sophia was called in by the president for insulting me in front of all the office staff. Our company takes human rights issues seriously, so she received a severe warning and a 3-month pay cut. Sophia was transferred to another department, and unless she changes her attitude, she will face strict measures. When I saw her briefly, she seemed timid and different, so maybe she had some realizations. But I'm no longer Sophia's mentor, and she's an adult. It's her own fault, and I'll leave the rest to her. As for me, the president personally gave me a small compensation for the trouble caused by this incident. There's not much time left until my retirement. The next candidate for my position is said to be a diligent and good person, so there shouldn't be any more troublemakers like Sophia. I plan to enjoy the remaining time at the company.
How did you like this story? Please subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.